Good afternoon, everyone. Brave new world. The Americas adopting Bitcoin, Africa adopting Russia, and the U.S. still threatens all the world banks with shutdowns if they cooperate. Snapshot, food poverty, as shipping costs climb across the planet, and an extremely rare gray whale making it through the Northwest Passage, dragging the clouds with it. And it is a brave new world we're entering. As you can see, everything seems to be shifting at once again. We experienced this right around 2020, intermission, and now we're back at it again. Economy, civilization, and food production all relies on the shipping. And everything's being disturbed right now. You have to wonder how much it's going to cost, how much it's going to take in terms of time, and the products that are going to get disrupted as we head into this planting season. But the Americas, brave new world, adopting Bitcoin as legal tender. Look at that. Mexico, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Panama, Venezuela, Argentina, maybe. They're going back dollar. So how high may the Bitcoin go this time? If we look at Plan B with the stock flow model, it does seem to follow the trajectory along that gray line, which would put us, not forecasting anything, just looking at the mathematics on it, but higher. And you can see why. The financial heads, talking heads that is, across the bankosphere are trying to limit crypto and its usage. And I love this one here. They kept talking about, it's used for illicit gains. We got to regulate it. Less than 1% of the trillions transacted annually in crypto are illicit compared to the 2 to 5% of global GDP. Up to 2 trillion used for illicit activities, and that is fiat government issued banking system cash. Don't talk about that, because it seems Mozambique's on the buying trail with the gold right along with Zimbabwe. Check this out. They're starting up a sovereign wealth fund. All the LNG exports going into something different to reestablish the economy. Right along with the Belt and Road Initiative, seems something is in the works in Africa. Because speaking of LNG, Germany seeks to replace Russian gas with a new deal, 55 billion. So I guess Cefe out of Germany is now going to be partnering with Equinor, coming out of Norway for a third of the industrial needs. That still leaves 2/3 for me and you on the simple math. So where's the other 2/3 coming from? The crashing, constricting German economy would say they haven't found it yet. And if we look at France, we see they haven't found it yet either. Manufacturing, the dark line, anything below 50 is bad. Anything approaching 40 is catastrophic. And the energy is what is driving it downward, or should be lack of energy, I should say. There are no low energy wealthy nations on this planet. So today we're going to take a quick break from the video to talk about the sponsor of today's video, Aura. Do you ever get blocked calls? I mean, look how many potential spams there are through here. It gets crazy after a while where you just want to not even answer your phone any longer. I mean, we have this. I'm in the middle of recording something and spam call, robocall comes in. And they're out of control, these robocallers. Plus these data brokers that are consolidating all the information they can find about you, your phone number, your address, previous places you worked. I mean, you go on Google and how much information can you find about yourself? Aura is an easy-to-use app that gives you all the tools to keep yourself safe online. Aura stands for your personal information that's out on the web and does the work of multiple different apps and software. And they reach out and actually do the hard work of telling data brokers to remove your information. I'm sure we're all familiar with it. Every time you look online, there's something new about you that's been scraped, but I want it all removed. But for me to do that as an individual would take years to do all the paperwork. With Aura, one simple click, and they do that hard lifting for you, because information privacy is becoming a big deal. Click on that link in the description box below, aura.com/adapt2030. Give it a try for 2 weeks free. You can scan the QR code on the left here. Get protected. And now on with the video. So tipping into the China-Russia trade soaring in the past 2 years. And look at that far right bar, 2023. Now where do you think it's going to go? Probably going to continue upward in terms of trade. It's not so much de-dollarization as it is trading amongst their own national currencies or settling outside the dollar, and they both agree on using something that's not a dollar. It's a dollar embargo. So they try to spin you up in the media like there's this grand scheme plan for all these nations to dump dollars in the same days or something. It's not. They just have to slow 1,000 cuts. Oh, well, let's just trade this transaction between our two currencies, and the next country does it, and the next country, and you see that ad, and they do, and it multiplies. So then what happens? It's not a plan to, this nefarious thing that you might think it is. It's just they've gone outside and said, we don't need to use the dollar any longer. There's other trade mediums, and let's start using those. Because U.S. was nasty with Russia in the SWIFT system, Russia's starting to, this is the next country that has been designated as an agricultural help mission from the Russians. Mali. They're going to send 50,000 tons of wheat. It's in process at the moment, so you could say sent. I know you purists on the lexicon out there. And when I saw this one off Statista, I thought for sure global snapshot, teen food poverty, it might have been a lot of African nations. I was surprised. Even the U.S. is on this list, along with Great Britain, Brazil, France, New Zealand. When you come further up the list there, we got the Philippines and then Cambodia. I was shocked at the further down, 13% in the United States. That is unacceptable to 13 times too much. That should be 0. So should it be in Great Britain. With the wealth and the opportunities we have here, they're just squandering. And there should be no teens that are in food poverty in these Western nations. The amount of taxes I pay, there should be none. So when I originally saw that list, I really thought there'd be more African nations on there, but let's stay with Africa. The African countries that now have signed military agreements with Russia, and then Russia's Rostom ready to build out nuclear power plants in Africa. And as I've said before, Africa is absolutely the beginning of the new fourth turning. At the end of the next 80 years, Africa will be as wealthy as Great Britain or the United States. The resources there are just outrageous, as I've heard it said. But if they get reliable power, and then they can clean water, and then it just moves from there, and the manufacturing, and, I wish I were to be alive in 80 years to see it for the next fourth turning. Construction Kenya Tanzania roadway African Development Fund, which is funded by who? Oh yeah, Russia's got its fingers in there too. So does China. But this is what you need, the infrastructure. You see how this continent is now being built out. It was off limits for a while, but it is definitely being tapped at the moment here. Even far north up in Tunisia. Russia and Tunisian foreign ministers, important partners, as it said, especially if you'd like to control the Mediterranean. And it is just a non-stop plane hopping fest, this time with the Arab Cooperation Forum that will not even receive calls from the United States, rolling out the red carpet for others. And like I said before, this de-dollarization, well, it's just a non-use of the dollar. So here's another one, 265 million. No SWIFT payments, nothing. So do this 10 times, and you're already into the billions. Well, this could be 10 of these in a single day. Now we're talking trillions. You see how quickly it can snowball. And instead of trying to cooperate with a lot of people, here we are, the U.S. threatens now all world banks with a shutdown due to cooperation with Russia. But wait a second. Once we sanctioned Russia and used our reserve currency status as a weapon, and everybody is starting to abandon it now in earnest by just trading outside of it, don't you think there'd be a little more, reflection? But maybe I don't get paid enough to make those kind of decisions or ask those kind of questions or even answer them. But the United States will cut off banks around the world from its financial system, i.e. SWIFT, if they violate anti-Russian sanctions. And all you're doing is just driving everybody over into whatever trade medium that these other nations have already set up amongst themselves. Do you think in your right mind that these countries are going to stay with the dollar if they don't have to with this threat right here again? Like, it's kind of unbelievable, really. It's almost, purposefully driving them away. So almost every bank around the world is given a choice between continuing to sell goods to Russia or being allowed or tied into the U.S. financial system. Now, what if there's a secondary financial system? I guess that's no longer a threat. It's just we're giving you the B choice. And we're seeing a lot of disruption right now, shipping costs climbing sharply. And the scale you look at, it's not dollars or euros. It's a unified system of freight rates for payment. And you can check out the different types of vessels they have. Oil tankers, mainly ship transport, cargo containers. They even do charters, which maybe will be a thing in the future. Going around a known listed manifest for a special voyage that it may take us through the Bosphorus Strait, which is another choke point that's happening. Turkey's interest rate above 40%. What's that, 43%? And everywhere you look now, the choke points are getting choked. So look at the Bosphorus now. That's yet another. And they were talking about the Mediterranean Sea. I don't know how that Iran's going to accomplish that, but if Russia's over in Tunisia and they can get up into Morocco somewhere, not Russia, but Iran, then they could close that off. Got the Red Sea, the debacle there, sending ships around Cape of Good Hope until the rains start again after El Nino eases, probably in about 6 months. Panama Canal's closed. And then at least half of the Malacca Straits is off limits to anything Israeli flagged or carrying anything bound for Israel. Will Indonesia follow that? And if they do, then whap, that's totally closed. Singapore is also forbidden ships from transiting through the Red Sea, and then Hong Kong, OCL lines, not going to send anything through the Red Sea either. So you start to look at those little dots. Hong Kong's massive for shipping, transshipping. Singapore, and then Malaysia, they're all saying no-go. It only takes Indonesia to block the entire Pacific off at the Malacca Strait. Well, they're going to have to go around Australia then. So you can see all the different amounts of time and extra fuel and costs that would be passed on. Because you can imagine that if all the ships that are presently in the Red Sea and this thing goes on like just even 3 more months, going around the Cape of Good Hope. And then what if at the same time the Malacca Straits get cut off where they have to go around Australia? Then you can see where this would lead with greatly delayed products. I know they use AI for quite a bit of scheduling, etc. Ships are ships, and all the movement around, eventually it'll get smoothed out. But for right now, expect delays and just things to disappear off the store shelf. They were supposed to be here 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, but they're not. Especially this trans-shipping thing where they're waiting for feeder vessels to come in. Oops, I missed the bus. Next, I'll just wait for the next one. Oh, wait, that one's 3 weeks late, so you need to wait for the next one, which is 6 weeks. So you're going to start to see sort of knock-on effects where things will not be delivered. It won't be forever. Something will disappear, and it'll pop back up at some time. And it'll probably be the next thing will disappear when that one pops back up. We'll play this whack-a-mole game here for a bit. And if the oil goes down, Persian Gulf or something, that'll be a wild card in itself. So get a little ready. Speaking of the oceans and strangeness, gray whale spotted off Miami coast. First documented ever. Must have traveled through the Northwest Passage from the Pacific Ocean, so they say. I mean, the magnetic field lines must be twisted, bent, and broken for that thing to find its way from the Pacific along the Northwest Passage, covered in ice, and pop back out in Miami. Like, what? That's just so bizarre. Definitely put that on your dot of something strange and unusual, as well as these clouds. Lenticular clouds, always beautiful, but at sunset and after massive storm, incredible views. Cloud of the day, sunset of the day. Thought I'd bring you some beauty in this mad world, a moment of zen in the craziness. I do appreciate you watching. Hope you got something out of the video. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.